will be presented by Ashkan, and which is about how to answer MATLAB questions on Q&A sites. So it's going to be a case study on Stack Overflow and MathWorks. Please,
Hello,
Ashkan,
everybody.
feel free to share your screen.
Do you see my screen?
It's coming.
It's coming.
It's coming.
Okay. Okay. You see it now? Can I proceed?
For me, it's still loading. Oh, now I can see it. Yeah, please go ahead.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Chairman, for allowing us to present my work. This work is done by our graduate students, Mahshid and Amir, and we benefit a lot from Professor Lowe's comments and suggestions, and he contributed to the direction of the research. So to get on with the work, MATLAB is a popular programming language developed by MathWorks for engineering applications, and it has several toolboxes like signal processing and control engineering toolboxes, in addition to deep learning. Moreover, it has Simulink. Simulink is a MATLAB-based block diagram programming that is used for like wireless communications and control systems. So when we have block-based simulations, we can use Simulink. More interestingly, in addition to MathWorks, which is a dedicated MATLAB forum for asking questions, people also ask questions in Stack Overflow. So basically, that was the motivation of our research, and we wanted to know what kind of questions are better answered in MathWorks and which ones are more suitable for Stack Overflow. And since we saw MATLAB questions in Stack Overflow, we were also interested to know how people in Stack Overflow process MATLAB questions in comparison to other programming languages. And we wanted to know the revisions that are done on MATLAB questions in Stack Overflow are basically how they're done and what categories they are. Specifically, we were more focused on code snippets that were revised. To get the research done, we used the SO-torrent, which has 10 years of historical data of Stack Overflow based on official Stack Overflow dumps. And what we did, actually, we extracted 80,000 questions that had MATLAB tags, and then we removed the ones that didn't have code blocks. And we reached 56K questions. Since we were interested on revising and revisions and how they were done, so we focused on the ones that had at least one code block with one revision. We ended up with 32K questions. In MathWorks, which is pretty similar to MATLAB, to Stack Overflow, we only sorted out the questions and we looked at the accepted answers. We noticed we have 266,000 questions with accepted answers. To do to tackle the first question, that was the type of questions that are answered in MathWorks and Stack Overflow, we needed to do a qualitative analysis. And based on the formula that is pretty popular recently for finding qualitative topics based on 95% confidence interval and on population of 0.5%, he found out, we analyzed almost 100 questions in Stack Overflow and MathWorks, we can do the categorization. In summary, we needed to analyze qualitatively 200 questions. The questions were qualitatively analyzed by Mahshid first, then confirmed by Amir, and I looked over and checked their discrepancies and any finding they have. So basically in MathWorks, various questions regarding programming in MATLAB is asked. And since MathWorks is a specific question and answer website, a lot of 14% of questions are related to how to use MathWorks question and answer website. Questions regarding installation and MATLAB's software setting for the other popular topics. After that, we saw performance issues on various versions and adding features to MATLAB in addition to other topics for the topic of interest. In contrast, majority of questions in Stack Overflow were basic programming topics like how to do plots, functions, for loops, and etc. And the topic that was more popular in Stack Overflow was converting MATLAB code to other programming languages, mostly Python. Performance and comparing was similar to other issues. So basically, we suggest that if you have simple MATLAB programming questions, this is always suitable. And also if you want to convert it to other programming languages. But for installation and other professional issues, you have to focus on that. But again, we looked at some more specific and more expertise and more toolboxes within the MATLAB. And we wanted to know how answers are actually questioned. In MATLAB, we focused on Simulink, image processing, computer vision, and signal processing toolbox. But overall, what we noticed when we looked at questions without an accepted answer, interestingly, we found out although MATLAB, like other programming languages, has increasing percentage of unaccepted answers for questions, but the percentage is pretty similar. And more interestingly, Java has more answers without an accepted, more questions without an accepted answer than MATLAB. But it pretty much, they are similar, not much difference. And when we focused on unanswered questions, exactly we saw the same pattern, and there's not much difference between the number of unanswered questions, percentage of unanswered questions between MATLAB and other programming languages. When we focused on the specific tools, Simulink, image processing toolbox, computer vision, and signal processing, we found out nearly 40% of the questions are not without an answer, which is pretty much follows the same distribution, and on the answered questions on specific toolboxes and popular toolboxes follow pretty much the same pattern. To answer the third question, which was how do people participate, we noticed we categorize users into original posters and non-original posters, and we distinguish between code revision and text revision. So we wanted to know how the revisions are done based on original posters and non-original posters. We found out that revisions have pretty much the same distributions. Original posters and non-original posters revise the questions pretty much the same. But when we focused on how they revise the question, we noticed that original posters are twice as probable that they change the code in compared to non-original posters. And finally, we wanted to know the type of revisions that are done on code. Again, we needed a qualitative analysis. We lowered the confidence level to 95%, so with 384 questions to be analyzed and categorized. Basically, we decided 7 categories after our qualitative analysis: code correction, which is of variables, changes or code functionality, the changing the functionality or logic in the code, and the code readability improvement, code style improvement. Code addition was adding lines of code, and code removal, removing lines of code. And move text to code was placing source code of question for text block into the code block. Interestingly, the 3 most popular were question, and after that it was actually code, and the latest one was move text to the code block. And that is pretty much my presentation. So we basically looked at 2 question and answer platform for MATLAB questions. and majority of simple questions are answered in Stack Overflow and converting to other programming languages. The way people MATLAB questions is pretty much the same as far as unanswered questions or accepted questions. They follow the same distribution, and original posters are twice as more probable to change their code. These are the references pretty much into my presentation. Taking questions now.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Ashkan, very much. Jump into questions. Let me steal 30 minutes of your time, make an announcement, and ask everyone to attend tomorrow's open steering committee meeting, because there will be elections. It's going to 11:45 Eastern time. Please attend and participate to the election. Thank you. And now we can take questions for this exciting talk. Questions? I don't see any questions on Discord.
Either it was too complete or not interesting at all.
No, I do have questions for. No, it's actually very interesting. So, I mean, I have one interesting question about one thing you find. So I don't know whether you have done this or not, but to what extent the revisions would help in finding an accepted answer, perhaps? Have you thought about looking at that?
Well, that is a good question, actually. Since we only focused on the post that they had revisions, so the sample we were focusing, they had all the revisions. But it's an interesting question to actually look at if revising helps. And with the Stack and with SO torrent, it is possible to investigate that. Thank you for research.
Okay, that'll be awesome, because I can tell that there will be a lot of interesting interventions that may lead to an accepted answer that way. And I would love also to thank you for the tremendous work that you have done.
Can we go to? I guess we have some questions in the.
Sure. So is difference in the nature questions asked on each of the Q&A platforms?
Yeah, actually, yes. We saw majority of simple questions for related to programming were asked in this torrent, and also we noticed a lot of questions relating how we can use these codes and we can convert them to other programming languages were in SO. But in MathWorks, they were mainly based on installation and a variety of topics. The topics were more diverse in MathWorks, actually. Can I see the questions in the Discord?
Yeah, that would. I think, to my understanding, from what I see, this is the only question addressed to your talk, actually. So I have another question about the labeling of those questions, because a lot of studies, and obviously know this, they use, for example, topic modeling, right, LDA or such, to come up with a topic. So, and I see that I don't think you mentioned this, but can you tell us more about how did you come up with these different categories?
Actually, we read them. I mean, we actually read one by one, and we tagged them. We extract the tags, and we come up with the categories manual. So actually, Nahi did a majority of the work, and then I was checking with her by daily basis, and then Amir got along, and he completed and somehow replicated the results on MathWorks and SOTOR. So actually, the problem first was Ms. Naqashzadeh actually went to SO torrent very elaborately, and because she's an electrical engineer and she is proficient in MathWorks, so then we somehow came up with a category based on manual tagging.
Yeah, that's a lot of work. Yeah. Thank you all for doing all this work.
We had to analyze somewhere between 500 posts, more than 500 posts manually by two of my graduate students, one computer scientist and the other electrical engineer.
Thank you, Ashkan, and thank you all for this work and for providing the community with such interesting data set. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. This is exactly midnight Iran time, and I'm sure
Yes.
somewhere is morning. So good morning, good night, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to be with you all. Have a good conference. Hope to see you virtually through the days of the conference. Thank you.
Me too. Thank
Goodbye.
you. Thank you. And this, I guess, it concludes our software quality sessions, and I can perhaps give now the move to Rick for any further